Your methods are outdated, Brianna said, leaning against her glass desk with practiced casualness. The sunlight streaming through the floor-to-ceiling windows of her corner office caught on her expensive watch. We need fresh perspectives that align with current marketing paradigms. I sat perfectly still, my hands folded in my lap as I processed the words. 15 years of service at Blue Crest Creative, and this was how it ended. In a sterile office with a woman who had been CEO for less than 3 months. Dana, this is Taylor Griggs, Brianna continued, gesturing to the young woman standing beside her. She'll be taking over your accounts effective immediately. Taylor, with her perfect blowout and designer blazer, gave me what I assumed was meant to be a sympathetic smile. I'm really excited to build on the foundation you've established. Foundation. As if my 15 years of relationship building, crisis management, and award-winning campaigns were just preliminary sketches for whatever disruptive strategies this 28-year-old influencer-turned-marketer had in mind. Valentech, Greenway, and Sterling are our biggest accounts, I said calmly. They've been with me for over a decade. They might be concerned about the transition. Brianna waved her hand dismissively. We've thought of that. Taylor will do introduction calls this week. Your severance package is generous, and Human Resources has the paperwork ready. I didn't argue. I didn't remind her that Valentech's chief marketing officer called me directly whenever they faced a PR crisis. I didn't mention how I'd helped Sterling Financial rebuild their brand after the financial crash when everyone else had abandoned them. I didn't point out that the CEO of Greenway Foods had been at my daughter's wedding. Instead, I stood up, smoothed my skirt, and nodded. I understand. I'll clear out my office. As I turned to leave, Brianna added, We'd appreciate if you'd make this transition amicable for everyone involved. The implication was clear. Don't make waves, don't call clients, don't damage the agency's reputation. Of course, I replied. I've always been professional. And I had been. For 15 years, I'd been the backbone of Blue Crest Creative in Fresno, California. I'd built relationships with clients that transcended business transactions. I'd mentored junior staff, worked weekends, and poured my heart into every campaign. I'd transformed a struggling local agency into a nationally recognized firm. None of that mattered now. To Brianna Lake, I was simply an outdated model being replaced with a newer version. As I walked back to my office, I felt something unexpected beneath the shock and disappointment. A quiet certainty. They thought they were ending something today. But I was about to begin. My career at Blue Crest Creative began when it was still called Peterson Design Group. Back then, we had 6 employees working from a converted house in downtown Fresno. I was 34, recently divorced, with a 10-year-old daughter and a determination to prove myself in the marketing world after years as a journalist. Harold Peterson took a chance on me, despite my unconventional background. Journalists understand what makes people care about a story, he'd said during my interview. That's the foundation of good marketing. Those early years were exhilarating, scrappy, chaotic, but full of genuine passion for the work. We celebrated each new client with a pizza party, and Harold insisted on handwritten thank you notes for every project. When I landed the Valentech account in my second year, an achievement that doubled our annual revenue, Harold gave me a plaque that still sat on my desk. Relationships before transactions. Over the years, I'd watched the agency grow, evolve, and eventually sell to a larger marketing group when Harold retired. I'd navigated changes in leadership, survived 2 rebrands, and adapted to shifting industry trends. But I'd always maintained that core philosophy. Genuine relationships were the foundation of lasting success. As I packed my belongings, carefully wrapping the industry awards and client thank you plaques that documented my 15-year journey, I thought about the relationships I'd built. Thomas Wells, the CMO at Valentech, who called me directly whenever they faced a product issue, trusting me to help craft their public response. We'd worked together through 3 company restructures and countless product launches. Jessica Huang at Greenway Foods, who'd relied on my team when they transitioned from a regional producer to a national brand. She'd once told me, "Dana, you're the only marketing executive who actually visited our farms to understand our values." And Robert Klein at Sterling Financial, who'd stayed with Blue Crest through the financial crisis because, in his words, "Dana understands our business isn't just about numbers, it's about trust." These weren't just clients. They were partnerships built on years of mutual respect, consistent results, and genuine understanding of their businesses. I placed the final award in my box, Agency Professional of the Year, given to me just 4 months ago at the Western States Marketing Awards. Beside it, I laid my company laptop and badge. As I took one last look around my office, my phone buzzed with a text from my daughter, Ellie. "How did the meeting go? Still on for dinner tonight?" I smiled despite everything. "Definitely. And I have some news. Love you." I walked out of Blue Crest Creative without looking back, my box of memories in my arms and a plan already forming in my mind. The restaurant was busy for a Tuesday evening. Ellie had already secured a booth by the time I arrived, and the sight of her, my confident, brilliant 25-year-old daughter, instantly lifted my spirits. "So, what's this mysterious news?" she asked after we ordered. "Did they finally make you partner?" I took a deep breath. "Actually, I was let go today." Ellie's expression shifted from shock to outrage in seconds. "What? After 15 years? It's business," I interrupted gently. "New leadership, new vision." "It's not right," she insisted. "You built that agency, Mom. Everyone knows Blue Crest would be nothing without you." I smiled at her fierce loyalty. "It's okay, really. Maybe it's time for a change." Ellie studied me over her water glass. "You're taking this suspiciously well. What are you planning?" That was my daughter, always able to read between my carefully composed lines. "Do you remember Jason and Veronica? They left Blue Crest last year?" She nodded. "Your former creative director and the digital strategist?" "Of course. They've been trying to convince me to join them in starting something new, a boutique agency focused on relationship marketing rather than just chasing trends." Recognition dawned on Ellie's face. "And you've been saying no because of your loyalty to Blue Crest." "Exactly. But now you're free," she finished for me. Free. The word resonated through me as our food arrived. I hadn't thought of it that way, but Ellie was right. After years of balancing increasingly corporate demands with my client-centered approach, I was suddenly unencumbered by those constraints. "I called Jason right after the meeting," I admitted. "We're having breakfast tomorrow to discuss me coming on as a founding partner at Summit Edge Marketing." Ellie raised her glass. "To new beginnings." As we ate, I shared more details about the dismissal. Brianna's condescension, Taylor's manufactured sympathy, the clear message that my methods were considered obsolete. "What about your clients?" Ellie asked. "Valentech and the others, won't they be upset?" I hesitated. I signed a non-solicitation agreement years ago. I can't directly poach clients. But if they came to you on their own, that would be different, I acknowledged. But I don't know if they will. Companies form relationships with agencies, not individuals. Even as I said it, I knew it wasn't entirely true. Thomas had called me directly just last week about Valentech's upcoming product launch. Jessica had texted me pictures from her daughter's graduation. Robert had sent me a handwritten card after our last successful campaign for Sterling Financial. But I couldn't count on sentiment in the business world. Brianna would undoubtedly be working to secure those relationships, probably scheduling meetings already. Either way, I told Ellie, looking down at my half-eaten dinner, I need to move forward, not backward. My phone buzzed in my purse, then again, and again. I pulled it out to find 3 texts from 3 different numbers. Thomas: "Heard the news. Need to talk tomorrow." Jessica: "Dana, please call me. Urgent." Robert: "This is unacceptable. Breakfast tomorrow? I looked up at Ellie, who raised an eyebrow at my expression. What? She asked. It seems, I said slowly, that those agency-client relationships might be more personal than Brianna realized. The next morning, I sat across from Jason and Veronica at Riverside Cafe, the aroma of fresh coffee mingling with the excitement of new possibilities. We've been waiting for this moment, Jason admitted, sliding a folder across the table. We've held off on officially launching Summit Edge until we could approach you again. I opened the folder to find detailed business plans, financial projections, and a proposed organizational structure, with my name listed as Founding Partner and Client Relations Lead. You two have been busy, I observed, impressed by the thoroughness of their planning. Veronica, always direct, leaned forward. Dana, we've watched Blue Crest drift further from Harold's vision every year. The corporate takeover was just the final straw for us. When Brianna was appointed, we knew it was only a matter of time before they pushed you out too. The industry is changing, I acknowledged, but that doesn't mean relationships and trust are obsolete. Exactly, Jason nodded enthusiastically. All this talk about disruption misses the point. Good marketing has always been about connecting with people, understanding their needs, and building trust. The tools change, but the fundamentals don't. I appreciated their passion, but remained cautious. I believe in your vision, our vision, but starting from scratch isn't easy. It took years to build Blue Crest's client base. Veronica and Jason exchanged glances. We have something to show you, Veronica said, pulling out her tablet. She opened an email and turned it toward me. This came in last night. It was an inquiry from Westlake Industries, a medium-sized manufacturing company that had been on Blue Crest's prospect list for years. How did they find you? You haven't even launched yet. Jason smiled. Word gets around. A former colleague mentioned our plans to their marketing director, who's apparently frustrated with their current agency. As I continued reading, my phone rang. Thomas Wells from Valentech. I should take this, I said, stepping away from the table. Dana, Thomas began without preamble. What the hell is going on at Blue Crest? I got a call yesterday introducing me to someone named Taylor, who's supposedly taking over our account. I chose my words carefully. There's been a leadership change, Thomas. The new CEO has different ideas about client management. Different ideas? He sounded incredulous. We've worked together for a decade. You know our business inside and out. And they think they can just swap you out like an interchangeable part? I appreciate your concern. It's not concern, Dana. It's business. We hired Blue Crest because of you. I'm meeting with this Taylor person today out of courtesy, but I want to know what your plans are. I hesitated. I can't solicit Blue Crest clients. You know that. I'm not asking you to solicit, Thomas clarified. I'm asking where you're going because Valentech may be interested in following. When I returned to the table, both Jason and Veronica could read my expression. Valentech? Jason guessed. I nodded, still processing the conversation. And I have breakfast with Robert from Sterling Financial at 9:30, then a call with Jessica from Greenway at 11 Waraug. Veronica leaned back, a slow smile spreading across her face. So, all three of Blue Crest's biggest accounts reached out to you within hours of your departure? Dana, that's not coincidence. It's not a done deal, I cautioned. They're loyal, but they're also businesses. Brianna will fight to keep them. With what? Jason asked. Taylor Griggs's Instagram following? These clients want substance, not style. As we continued our discussion, my phone buzzed with an email. It was from Brianna. Dana, regarding client transitions, please remember your contractual obligations. Any attempt to solicit Blue Crest clients will be met with immediate legal action. I trust you'll act professionally. Brianna Lake, CEO. I showed the email to Jason and Veronica. She's worried, Veronica observed. She should be, Jason added. I looked between my two potential business partners, a decision crystallizing in my mind. "Let's do this," I said finally. "But we do it right. No solicitation, no legal gray areas. If these clients come to us, it will be entirely their decision." Veronica raised her coffee mug. "To Summit Edge Marketing, founded on relationships, built to last." As we clinked mugs, I felt something I hadn't expected. Relief. This wasn't just about survival after being let go. This was about building something that truly reflected my values. Breakfast with Robert from Sterling Financial was illuminating. He arrived at the restaurant already irritated, barely glancing at the menu before launching into his concerns. "I've been with Blue Crest, with you, for 8 years, he said. "Through the financial crisis, through our rebranding, through everything. And yesterday, I get a call from some Taylor person who can't even pronounce our chief investment officer's name correctly." I listened sympathetically. Transitions are always challenging. "This isn't about transitions," Robert insisted. "This is about trust. Sterling works with Blue Crest because you understand financial services. Marketing isn't just about flashy campaigns. It's about stability, reliability, trustworthiness." I nodded, careful not to say anything that could be construed as solicitation. "I've always valued our working relationship, Robert." "So, what are your plans?" he asked bluntly. I hesitated, then decided honesty was best. "I'm joining a new venture, Summit Edge Marketing, a boutique agency focused on relationship-driven strategies." Robert pulled out his phone and made a note. "And when will this agency be operational?" "We're finalizing details now. We should be fully functional within 2 weeks." He nodded, seemingly satisfied. "I'll need information for our procurement department." I started to respond when my phone buzzed with a text from Ellie. "Mom, have you seen this?" Attached was a screenshot of a LinkedIn post from Brianna Lake. "Excited to announce Blue Crest Creative's new direction. With innovative leadership and fresh talent like Taylor Griggs, we're revolutionizing our approach to meet the demands of today's digital landscape. Sometimes necessary changes mean saying goodbye to outdated methodologies. Onwards and upwards. Ny marketing innovation, a new era." The post featured a photo of Brianna and Taylor standing in front of the Blue Crest logo, both smiling broadly. My stomach tightened, but I maintained my composure as I showed it to Robert. His expression darkened. Outdated methodologies? Is she referring to the approach that won Sterling 3 industry awards last year? I remained diplomatic. Change is part of business. "Not all change is progress," Robert countered, standing up. "I need to make some calls. Expect to hear from our procurement team soon." As he left, my phone rang. Jessica from Greenway Foods, calling early. "Dana," she began without greeting, "I just saw Brianna's post. Is that why you left? Because she thinks relationship marketing is outdated?" "Jessica, Because if that's Blue Crest's new philosophy, we have a serious problem. Greenway's entire brand is built on relationships with farmers, with communities, with customers." I took a deep breath. "I didn't leave by choice, Jessica." A pause. "You were fired." Her tone conveyed disbelief. "The term was restructuring," I clarified. "But essentially, yes." "Because your methods are outdated?" I didn't need to answer. Brianna's post had made it clear. "This is unbelievable," Jessica continued. "After everything you've done, the Farmland Heritage Campaign, the Community Harvest Initiative, these weren't just marketing successes, Dana. They captured the very soul of our company." Her indignation was touching, but I needed to be careful. "Jessica, I value our professional relationship immensely, but I can't solicit—" "You don't need to solicit anything," she interrupted. "I'm informing you that Greenway will be reviewing our agency relationships immediately. Where can I reach you if we need to discuss alternatives?" I gave her my personal contact information, a surreal feeling washing over me. Within 24 hours of being dismissed as obsolete, 3 major clients were independently reaching out to follow me. After ending the call, I sat alone at the table, processing everything. Brianna's post had been a strategic error, a public dismissal of the very approach her biggest clients valued. In trying to position Bluecrest as cutting edge, she'd inadvertently signaled to relationship-focused clients that they were no longer a priority. My phone buzzed again. A text from Jason. "Emergency at Summit Edge HQ. Can you come now?" Summit Edge headquarters was currently Jason's home office, where we'd been setting up temporary operations. Concerned, I paid the bill and rushed over. When I arrived, I found Jason and Veronica staring at a computer screen, looking stunned. "What's wrong?" I asked. Veronica turned the screen toward me. "Nothing's wrong, but you need to see this." It was an email from Thomas Wells at Valentech. "After careful consideration, Valentech is terminating our contract with Bluecrest Creative, effective immediately. We'll be seeking new representation that aligns with our commitment to meaningful client relationships." The next 48 hours were a whirlwind. By Wednesday afternoon, all 3 companies, Valentech, Greenway Foods, and Sterling Financial, had formally terminated their relationships with Bluecrest Creative. By Thursday morning, we were fielding inquiries from 2 additional Bluecrest clients who had caught wind of the exodus. "This is happening faster than we anticipated," Veronica said during our impromptu strategy session in Jason's living room. "We need to accelerate our timeline." Jason nodded, typing furiously on his laptop. "I've got our designer finalizing the logo today. The website framework is ready. We need office space, like yesterday." "I might have a solution for that," I offered. "Harold Peterson still owns that converted house downtown where Bluecrest started. He's been leasing it to a nonprofit that's moving to a larger space next month." Veronica's eyes lit up. That would be perfect symbolism, returning to the roots of what marketing should be. I sent a quick text to Harold, who responded almost immediately. "For you, Dana, it's yours. Let's talk tomorrow." As we continued planning, my phone rang with an unknown number. I excused myself to take the call. "Dana McAllister." My voice was tentative. "Ms. McAllister, this is Deanna Winters, chairperson of the board at Bluecrest Creative." My heart skipped. The board chair herself. This was unexpected. "Ms. Winters, how can I help you?" "I'll be direct," she said, her tone businesslike, but not unfriendly. "We've had some concerning developments at Bluecrest. 3 major accounts terminating simultaneously has raised significant questions about our current leadership." I remained silent, waiting for her to continue. "The board is meeting tomorrow to discuss these developments. Before we make any decisions, I wanted to hear your perspective on what transpired." Carefully selecting my words, I explained the situation. Brianna's dismissal of relationship marketing, my termination, the introduction of Taylor as my replacement. I emphasized that I had not solicited any clients, that they had each independently reached out to me. "And these accounts, they're following you to a new venture?" she asked. "That appears to be their intention," I confirmed. A long pause followed. "Would you consider returning to Bluecrest if certain changes were made in leadership?" The question caught me off guard. Return to Bluecrest? After being unceremoniously dismissed? After being labeled outdated? "Ms. Winters, I'm flattered by the implication, but I've committed to a new path. My partners and I are launching Summit Edge Marketing. We've already signed lease paperwork and filed our business formation documents." "I understand," she said, sounding disappointed. "One final question, if I may. These client departures, do you believe they're about you personally or about the approach to marketing that Brianna is dismissing?" "Both," I answered honestly. "In relationship marketing, the personal and professional are intertwined. These clients value consistency, trust, and deep understanding of their businesses. That takes years to build and seconds to destroy." After ending the call, I returned to find Jason and Veronica looking expectant. "The board chair," I explained. "They're questioning Brianna's leadership." Jason let out a low whistle. "After 3 days? That's got to be some kind of record. They asked if I would consider coming back, I admitted. Veronica's expression shifted to concern. And I told her I'm committed to Summit Edge. Relief washed over both their faces. Good, Veronica said firmly. Because we just got confirmation from Sterling Financial. They want to sign with us as soon as we're operational. My phone buzzed with an email notification. It was from Thomas at Valentech, with the subject line, "Contract ready for review." As I opened it, another email arrived from Jessica at Greenway Foods, moving forward with Summit Edge. In just 3 days, we had secured commitments from clients representing over $4 million in annual billing. Summit Edge hadn't even officially launched yet. I think, Jason said with growing excitement, we're going to need a bigger office. The official launch of Summit Edge marketing came exactly 2 weeks after my dismissal from Bluecrest. We'd secured the original Peterson Design Group building, a symbolic return to values that had been forgotten in the corporate evolution. Harold had not only leased us the space, but had also come out of retirement to serve as an advisor. "You've brought it full circle," he told me as we stood in the freshly renovated space, the smell of new paint and possibility in the air. This is what I always hoped Bluecrest would remain, marketing built on understanding, not gimmicks. Our team had grown quickly. Beyond the 3 founding partners, we'd hired 2 strategists, a content team, and a digital specialist, all former Bluecrest employees who had either left voluntarily or been restructured in Brianna's new regime. The morning of our launch, as we prepared for our first official all-hands meeting, I received a text from Ellie. "Have you seen the news about Bluecrest?" I hadn't, having been completely immersed in building Summit Edge. I quickly found the article she referenced. Marketing agency. Shakeup. Bluecrest Creative announces CEO departure after major client exodus. The article detailed how Brianna Lake was stepping down to pursue other opportunities. Following the loss of several major accounts, the board had appointed an interim CEO while conducting a search for permanent leadership. I shared the news with Jason and Veronica, who both read it with wide eyes. "I knew there would be fallout," Jason said, "but I didn't expect it to happen this fast." "The board must have been horrified by the revenue implications," Veronica observed. "Losing 40% of your billing in 1 week would terrify any shareholder." I felt a complex mix of emotions. Vindication, certainly, but also sadness for what Bluecrest had become. The agency had been my professional home for 15 years. Seeing it stumble wasn't a victory I savored. "Let's focus on Summit Edge," I said finally. "Bluecrest's situation is their challenge now, not ours." As our team gathered for the meeting, I felt a surge of genuine excitement. This wasn't just a response to rejection. It was the beginning of something authentic and valuable. 6 months after our launch, Summit Edge had established itself as a formidable presence in the regional marketing landscape. We'd moved beyond our founding clients to secure 4 new accounts, each drawn to our relationship-centered philosophy. Our team had doubled in size, necessitating an expansion into the building next door to Harold's original office. The morning of our 6-month anniversary celebration, I arrived early to prepare my remarks. As I set up in our conference room, the front desk called to inform me I had a visitor. To my surprise, it was Taylor Griggs, my former replacement at Bluecrest. "Do you have a moment?" she asked, looking significantly less confident than she had in Brianna's office 6 months earlier. I invited her in, curious about the purpose of her visit. "I've been following Summit Edge's growth," Taylor began, fidgeting with her coffee cup. "What you've built in 6 months is remarkable." "Thank you," I replied neutrally. "What can I do for you, Taylor?" She took a deep breath. "After you left, everything at Bluecrest fell apart. Without the major accounts, they couldn't sustain the staff. There have been 3 rounds of layoffs." I hadn't been following Bluecrest's situation closely, focusing instead on building our new agency. "I'm sorry to hear that. The thing is," Taylor continued, "I realized something important. Brianna was wrong about outdated methods. What you did, building those client relationships, that wasn't outdated. It was foundational. Her honesty was unexpected. The accounts I was given, she admitted, they all left within weeks. I couldn't maintain them because I hadn't built the trust you had. I studied her carefully. There was genuine regret in her expression. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. Taylor straightened her shoulders. "Blue Crest let me go last week. I'm here because I want to learn from you, the right way to do this work." The request caught me off guard. This young woman, who had been positioned as my innovative replacement, was now asking to learn from me. "I don't expect you to hire me," she clarified quickly. "But maybe mentorship?" I realized I need to build a foundation before I can innovate on top of it. The Summit Edge anniversary celebration that afternoon was filled with genuine camaraderie and shared purpose. Our team gathered in the expanded office space, surrounded by framed campaign successes from our first 6 months. The energy was palpable. This wasn't just a business. It was a community united by shared values. As I stood to address everyone, I surveyed the faces before me. Former Blue Crest colleagues who had found a new professional home. New hires bringing fresh perspectives. And in the back, Taylor, who had accepted my offer to join us for the celebration as the first step in a potential mentorship. 6 months ago, we started Summit Edge with a simple belief, I began. That in marketing, as in life, relationships matter. That trust is earned through consistency and understanding. That listening is more valuable than talking. The room nodded in collective agreement. What we've built isn't just a response to rejection. It's an affirmation of what we've always known to be true. Marketing isn't about chasing trends. It's about connecting authentically with the humans behind the data points. I raised my glass. To Summit Edge. To relationships that last. And to the understanding that sometimes the most valuable asset in a company isn't a methodology or a technology. It's the people who build connections that matter. As applause filled the room, I caught a glimpse of myself reflected in the window, not the devastated professional who had packed up her office 6 months ago, but a woman who had transformed a setback into an opportunity to build something meaningful. The journey from Blue Crest to Summit Edge hadn't been about revenge. It had been about validation, proof that genuine relationships and authentic marketing still mattered in a world obsessed with the next trend. The clients who followed me hadn't done so out of loyalty alone, but because they recognized the value of a partnership built on understanding and trust. In the end, Brianna had been right about one thing. It was time for change, just not the kind she had envisioned. The real innovation wasn't in abandoning proven approaches, but in recommitting to the human connections that make marketing truly effective. As I watched my team celebrate, I realized that sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about moving forward and proving your value through success. Sometimes, the most powerful statement is simply letting your true worth walk out the door with you.